Thanks everybody at the Canadian RegTech Association and the Canadian Credit Union Association for the opportunity. As you mentioned, Tina, I'm the founder of Arctic Intelligence. I've been involved in the financial crime risk management space probably for at least 18 years. I've been on sort of both sides of the fence as a consultant to banks, and work for them directly, implementing like major transformation programs. I spent 8 years at Macquarie Bank, working as the program director, running their anti-money laundering program, and sort of understand the pain that a lot of organisations go through. So that was really the kind of the reason for setting up Arctic Intelligence. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the company, about some of the solutions that we offer, the types of companies that we work with, the industries that we cover, as well as the countries. Now I'm going to play you a short video, it's a 1-minute video, and then I'm going to sort of do a sort of a paper-based walkthrough of one of our applications. So in terms of who Arctic Intelligence are, so we were founded in 2015, essentially to specialise within financial crime risk assessment. So currently we've helped hundreds of clients in about 20 different industry sectors in 18 countries. And we have two main technology platforms, one of which I'll show you today. So AML Accelerate is primarily a guided risk assessment platform. It helps guide organizations through the process of conducting a business-wide risk assessment, and also generating AML program documents, policy documents, and so on. And that's the one that I'll take you through. Just for completeness, we also developed an enterprise-grade risk assessment platform, which is risk domain agnostic, and it's highly configurable. So we have lots of different content domains for a number of different financial crime and non-financial crime topics that allow like larger, more sophisticated organizations that are on, further on the maturity journey to be able to change methodologies, create risk models, and so on. And this slide deck is going to be available if people want it. We've been recognized as a thought leader in this space internationally, with a number of different kind of awards and accomplishments, which we're very proud of. So in terms of the companies that we help, essentially we work with a very diverse range of clients. So very small customers, they could be designated non-financial services businesses like lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, right the way through to large international global banks. We are quite geographically spread, and we do work with a number of people within the banking and credit union sector within Canada and North America, as well as within Australia and the APAC region. So in terms of the industries we support, so AML obviously impacts a very diverse set of industries. So as part of the Financial Action Task Force commitments, there's about 200 FATF member countries that have essentially committed to implementing money laundering regulations. So primarily they're within financial services, but also in other sectors like gatekeeper professions like lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, gaming and wagering, and also high-value goods dealers. So we've got clients across 20 of these different industry sectors, and specifically we've tailored our solutions to these sectors as well. So as well as tailoring our risk assessment to those industry sectors, we've also tailored the content within the platform to the localized AML laws in a number of jurisdictions. So currently we cover 39 countries across the EU and around the world, and we provide monthly regulatory alert notifications to our clients on regulatory changes within those organisations. And we're actually working with a whole range of different AML practitioners and a whole range of countries listed below to actually develop and localise the content for different geographies and different markets, so that we can help organizations essentially uplift their capabilities in the business-wide risk assessment area. So I'm just going to play a short video, about a minute, so just give me a second. and then I'll come back after the video finishes, and I'll give you a sort of a walkthrough about some of the main things within the platform. So this is all about AML Accelerate.
Anthony, we've got a question from the crowd for you, Anthony. One of our audience was just wondering if the UI is currently available in the French language.
Unfortunately not, no. We only support English language in those countries in the Accelerate platform. It's possible to do multi-language in our other platform, but this platform is only in English. Well, thanks for indulging me in playing that video. I just want to spend sort of the next sort of 5 minutes really just giving you a bit of a walkthrough some of the key features within the platform, and if anyone's got questions at the end, happy to take them. So I guess the main purpose behind this platform is to make it very easy for regulated businesses to be able to undertake a business risk assessment in a structured way and be able to kind of articulate the outputs to their boards and to their regulators. So it's obviously very important to have a fully auditable end-to-end process. So this screen on the left is really our kind of audit history screen. It keeps track of all of the different risk assessments that are in progress or have been published. And as soon as they're published, they're basically locked down into a PDF document. So you've always got a record of the risk assessment that was undertaking, the outputs that were produced, and also the methodology that was in place at a particular point in time. And on the right-hand side, you can see that there's a full audit trail around the risk decisions that are taken in terms of date and time stamping people's comments, where people are changing kind of the risk assessment or the control testing elements. A lot of these comments are all just carried forward into the reporting. So it's very transparent end-to-end process. So the main application cuts through kind of six main steps, which are at the top. The first one is really around company information and context. This is really looking to establish the nature, size, and complexity of the organisation. So we capture basic information about the business, general information, registration, address details, and so on. Information around the business profile in terms of the size and complexity of the business by revenue, by organizational complexity, employees, and so on. And some information around the AML compliance officer or the MLRO and their relationship to the board and the functions that they take on, as well as the regulatory supervisory information. So all of that is really just background info. the main element to the platform is really the risk assessment itself, and so we cover across 6 different risk groups within the platform. So environmental risk is really looking at the internal and external vulnerabilities that an organisation might face. So it's looking at things like different types of predicate offences. So exposure to things like illicit trafficking or deceptive crimes or property crimes, or personal crimes. As well as vulnerability to money laundering, terrorism financing, proliferation financing, and sanctions, as well as regulatory compliance. The next piece looks at customer risk. So we look at things like the types of customers that an organisation deals with, and this isn't an individual customer risk, it's more the enterprise risk view. So it looks at the types of customers as a kind of a portfolio of customers, their location, the proportion of customer base that might be PEPs or operating in higher risk industry occupations and groups. Next risk factor we look at is business risk. So we look at like the location or the geographic footprint of the operation, look at whether they're outsourcing any controls, AML controls to key third parties, what those controls are, and what kind of oversight that those organizations have, as well as looking at employee risks as well. The next is really look at channels. So this is really how products and services are distributed to customers, really through face-to-face and non-face-to-face channels. And within the product and services risk, we've got over 250 different products and services aligned to each of these different industries, and they're basically assessing the features and characteristics of those products or services that make them more or less vulnerable from a money laundering perspective. And then finally, there's a country risk assessment. So we're tracking and monitoring about 240 different countries and territories based on a proprietary methodology, and we provide regulatory updates, as I said, on a monthly or quarterly basis on the country risk and the regulatory updates. So there's a whole risk framework. They're assessing both the inherent risks and controls and uploading control evidence, documenting the strength of controls and any gaps, issues. You can also track things like actions and issues and breaches and incidents in the platform. So once the risk assessment has been done to identify and assess the risks, the next kind of requirement is really to document that in an AML program or policy document that really talks about how you're going to mitigate and manage the risks of your organization. So often with this platform, it's really helping organizations that may not have the internal resources or skills or capabilities to be able to have a kind of a proper structured framework and methodology for risk assessment. So the AML program document is a document that's basically tailored to the AML laws of different jurisdictions, and it really outlines the main sections and subsections that a regulator might typically expect an organization to have. So it really serves up this as a way of documenting the AML program, and it's fully tailorable as well. So organizations can go in and they can tailor that document to reflect their internal risk management framework and decisions that they have in the platform. In a similar vein, we also have a similar document which is around customer due diligence standards, which looks at the collection and verification requirements for different types of customers in different jurisdictions. So that's outlined within this particular document. The next stage is really appendices, looking at a glossary of terms reference, and then finally it's really around editing, reviewing, and publishing the program. So it's at this point that you can start to see the impact of the inherent and the residual risk, looking at control summary, tweaking everything before it's published into a document. So basically produces a series of documents around the risk assessment, and they can be tracked around how that AML policy is organised in the organisation. So I think I'm pretty much stuck to time, but happy to answer any questions, and thanks again.
We've got about 3 to 5 minutes for any questions that you would like to ask, Anthony. There's one here from the crowd, Anthony. So country risk models can vary based on different political sanctions. How do you treat some of these differences in the Arctic intelligence model?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question because country risk is whether it's an art or a science, it still remains to be seen. But the reality is that there are lots of different data sources that have different perspectives. Things like the FATF deficient country lists and various kind of narcotics lists, and there's lots of different methodologies that we use, and none of those methodologies are the same. They all use different rating scales, are all published at different times, and so we have a framework around looking at all of those country risk inputs, and then we provide alerts to our clients when those risk factors have changed. The other thing that I would say is that organizations may take a completely different view to country risk that we do, or they might have variances or particular nuances. So they can obviously override those kind of default values within their, based on their own organization's interpretation of those, and then they have the ability to kind of like document the output to explain, why that kind of override was applied, for example.
Great, thank you, Anthony. So we do have a couple of requests for you, and we'll get you the contact information after this webinar. There are folks who are interested in a demo, so you've obviously piqued some interest here. Going back to Charlene's point that she shared in the chat, that enterprise risk management is so important, right? It's fundamental throughout the entire life cycle. And that is, I think that was the intent behind how we scheduled the videos for today. So from an overall view, and then we go deeper into the life cycle. Anthony, from your perspective, I know we still have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything you want to share with us where Arctic intelligence, from your perspective, from the global view, I know you're globally focused but Australian based, what from your perspective is, if I can say, the secret sauce for Arctic intelligence? Why should credit unions who are on the line today, on the screen today, why should they want a demo, and what differentiates you potentially from the industry competitors?
I mean, the first thing is that there aren't actually that many people within the RegTech space focusing on financial crime risk assessment technology. There's probably less than 5 in the world that have actually got capable solutions that have actually developed, and so I think that it's actually, there aren't that many people out there that specialize in this. I think like the key thing is, obviously we've been doing this since 2015. We've invested like millions of dollars in our technology, and I guess one of the best things around having customers and partners with an international lens is that we're improving our products based on kind of the knowledge of the crowd, so to speak. So a lot of feedback that we get from regulators, we are engaged with a lot of regulators worldwide, a lot of regulated entities, a lot of consultants and advisors in and around the space, and so we're kind of heavily investing in our technology platforms, and that's very important. And I guess the last thing I would say is that we really are trying to help organizations regardless of where they are on the spectrum. If they're a really small, under-resourced organization, cost is very important. We're trying to guide them through that with the Accelerate platform. It's a straightforward product, it's low cost, it's high value. And then as those organizations mature, so they actually look at, I actually now want to create my own risk models or change my own risk methodology, that they can actually move towards that, through our other platforms, so they can actually mature from, a digitized approach and then also into an automated approach. So it's really trying to provide those organizations across that full kind of spectrum of maturity with a solution. And we have many like larger clients that started off on AML Accelerate, moved into the risk assessment platform, and now building their own risk models and kind of automating their approaches. So yeah, that's what I would say.